so next up is Meermin. This is another brand that's fairly popular across the menswear space. I think I hear a lot of talk about this one.
Absolutely. I mean, they're good value, and it was actually founded by third and fourth generation shoemakers, right? It's that Albaladejo family from Mallorca. I've been to their Carmina plant, and they have a long history. They make really high-end shoes that are more expensive. And so just the younger people in the family got together and said, well, with the globalization, let's actually go to China where labor costs are low. Let's train people up so they can make good shoes. We know what we have to do in terms of last design so it looks good. Mm-hmm. And overall, their shoes look much more expensive than they are. I think that's a big thing. I mean, this model here is from their higher end line called Linea Maestro, and I think it starts like $290 and goes up to maybe $320. Mm-hmm. So slightly above $300, but it's so close that we still included them. Your shoe, how much was that?
These were considerably less than that line. These were about $175 for this loafer here.
So huge difference, but both still very inexpensive. And I think yours is a Goodyear welted shoe, right? This is unusual. This is a hand welted shoe, which is something you would never find in this price category. With a Goodyear welted shoe, you have like a gem band that is glued onto the sole so the welt can hold. Here, it's actually worked out of the sole, the leather part, and then hand stitched. It's unheard of in this price category. It's something you get with a bespoke shoe, not with a $300 shoe.
Pretty impressive.
So that's pretty unusual. And even their lower price shoes, you know, the 175, even they are Goodyear welted and stuff, with some attention to detail. So first impressions, very high.
Yeah, I would say the same. I thought when I took these out of the box, I thought the color was great. You know, a very deep, rich, dark brown color. I liked the look of the last overall and the length of the shoe. And I also noticed too that they had kind of a longer and more pronounced tongue than some other loafers do. But because they've got this long profile overall, I think that helped to kind of balance the look, and I like how it turned out.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the leather, they used high quality French calfskin leather, and they're very transparent about what leathers they use. The sole is a Johann Rendenbach sole, which is also high quality. It's German material, very renowned in the shoe world. On that note, though, I went to the Al Netman's factory once, and they were selling it for their higher end shoe lines. And they said when I did some testings and compared it with their like other Mexican tan leather, the Mexican actually outperformed the German one.
Really?
But there's this quality perception of Rendenbach being the best. They put it in their Cordovan shoes, for example, and stuff. So I thought it was funny. That being said, I mean, Rendenbach is good leather. I've had it on shoes. It lasts for a very long time.
I thought generally the suede feels nice. It's not, you know, terribly rough. I think pretty good softness here overall. And as far as more generally the construction is concerned, I thought the stitching was generally pretty good. There were maybe, I could see one or two little ends of a thread here and there, but not a major deal by any means.
Yeah, I think they make their stuff in China, but then finish it in Spain, probably with different lines to varying degrees. There's not a whole lot written about it, but overall, I mean, yeah, nice leather. I think compared to all the Italian ones, they're not as soft, right? It's more like an English shoe in its stiffness. It's fairly flexible for that, but it just needs a little bit of break-in. What about workmanship?
Well, as I say, I thought generally the stitching was pretty good. There were a few things that I did notice. For example, on the saddle here, there were some places where kind of the multiple strips of leather didn't totally line up 100% in this saddle here.
Okay.
There were elements on the sole here where there might be kind of a rough edge at points too. Wasn't totally smooth around the finishing.
Got it.
So yeah, some of the finer points or the smaller details were maybe not 100% on these, but not deal breakers by any means.
Yeah, I mean, on my shoes, I think the workmanship was very spot on. They used kind of, you know, the irons, they waxed everything. You can see that the stitch density is different like a clear sign of a hand weld.
Right.
It's not like a machine. And then they also have like the little brass nails in the front, like hand hammered, hand nailed in, supposed to prevent the wear on the tip of your shoe, which they usually wear out first. All leather heel, built up one by one with nails, with like the rubber edge. Stitching very neat. I mean, there was no broguing, but overall, this Linea Maestro, which translates to like master's line, is pretty impressive. Like, if I would not have seen the brand and not known it, I would have not guessed this was a $310 shoe. I think for $37.50 extra, you can get matching shoe trees, which is a pretty nice option. I'd probably definitely get those. They just send them to us.
Right.
But definitely something I'd save the money for. Color-wise, otherwise, leather's very nice. The other thing in the workmanship that I think is particularly good with those is that they're hand lasted, which means the upper, is sewn and then it's put onto the last, and then it's like affixed to the bottom with nails by hand. And that allows you to actually get it exactly where you want it to be. Sometimes with a factory-made shoe elements, it's just slightly off. So you can look at the seam in the back and compare it with the shoe, and one is a little off, for example, compared to the other. On those, on both lines, even the classic line, they do that by hand. And it just shows, like the medallion is always going to be centered. And it's just a little detail that not many other factory shoes have.
Right.
Yeah, so my last is called the Donnie last. It's kind of a sleek last. It's a new last. I think in their Maestro line they have a lot of different lasts, but you can contact them and see if you have a wider foot or narrow foot and what they recommend. It's size 10.5, which fits me pretty well. I have room. It's not too much room. It's very kind of comfortable to wear. Again, slightly stiffer shoe, but with a little bit of break-in, it's gonna be, I think, a great companion. It has this kind of unique style where there's no cap toe really on the Oxford, kind of that slightly rounded last, timeless yet elegant.
Mine were a size 7.5, that's in UK sizing. It said they were on the RON or RON last.
Yeah, otherwise, I mean, I've walked with them. Burgundy's super versatile color. I mean, they're more classic. They also have more like hand patinas that I think are a little more expensive. Overall, I'm really impressed by the shoe. I think maybe they're a little stiff. If it was slightly less stiff, it would be a solid 5 out of 5 for me. That way, it's maybe like 4 3/4. Just, very impressed that a shoe in this price range can be that good.
And obviously, I ended up with quite a few medium brown suede loafers from this exercise. So I'm glad that these are quite a bit darker, kind of different in style, so they'll give me another different option to wear and pair with my outfits. I thought they were fairly comfortable, but again, given that they are a loafer, there was a little bit of sliding with my foot, nothing that I don't think could be accommodated by a tongue pad, so I'll probably do that with these as well. And as I said, because this is just the standard line and not the higher end line, there were a few little construction things that were less than perfect. So I put these at about a 4 out of 5 ultimately, I think.